This Sunday is the historic first ever all-women's Evolution pay-per-view. So historic that I heard from multiple people who thought Crown Jewel was this weekend and not Evolution, because that is the show that WWE has put its promotional muscle behind, emanating from the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, right next door to my alma mater. WWE is also streaming the first half hour live and free on Twitter for the first time. I think they've ever done that for a show. So that'll be the first 30 minutes of Evolution. They had tickets for this show, probably still do, on StubHub, on SeatGeek, websites of that nature. For as little as $7, you can get into the Evolution show. And I still had no interest in going. This show, when you look at how they have promoted this show, and again, they've been talking about it as though it is historic. It is such a big deal. And you would think they would want to go out of their way to make it feel really special. And I'm floored by how poor of a job that WWE has done getting people excited for this show. I don't doubt that there are some people listening to this who might be sitting there saying, well, I'm excited for the show. I truly think those people are in the minority. Because I feel the way a lot of you people feel, which is that the build to this show has been completely underwhelming for what is supposed to be a historic show. The only thing historic here is the historically poor way that they have promoted this show. Such an important show this is, neither Raw nor SmackDown this week ended with the women, which is a staple of WWE programming. Typically, right? You've got big pay-per-view coming up this weekend, 5 days away, 6 days away, and you end your show with some sort of tease or cliffhanger or pull-apart brawl or contract signing or something to that effect that builds to your main event, that builds to a big match on the pay-per-view that Sunday. They had 2 shows this week, neither one ended with the women. Could not even headline Raw or SmackDown this week. There are, I would say, 2 or 3 matches that I personally am genuinely looking forward to on this show. 2 of which are not even matches with main roster talent. You know, the Myun Classic wrapped up this week. I mean, the finals are going to be this Sunday, but the show itself on the WWE Network had its finale on Wednesday. And the finals with Toni Storm and Io Shirai take place at Evolution. But I'm going to miss the Myun Classic so much because it very quickly became, probably from week 1, became my favorite WWE program to watch each week. Not taking anything away from NXT. NXT is really good, especially lately. NXT has been pretty damn good. But I became a huge fan of the Myun Classic. And it wasn't as though we were getting blow-away matches. It's not just about blow-away matches. It was the presentation of it. It was the talent that was involved. It was just the way that it was presented. And then on top of that, you did get some pretty good matches. I like the whole package. I thought they did a tremendous job with it. I thought they did last year, too. WWE does a pretty damn good job when it comes to these tournaments and these specials that we've seen on the network. They did it with the UK guys. The Cruiserweight Classic was, I thought, tremendous. And this was no different. I wish I could be as excited for this pay-per-view as I was watching that tournament. And who knows, maybe... And I'm not trying to prejudge the show. I'm not going to say the show's going to suck or anything like that. The show can end up being one of the sleeper shows of the year. We've had situations like this before where WWE puts a card together and either the card doesn't look overly exciting or they did a complete crap job of promoting the show and it just feels like an afterthought. Hey, let's just get it out of the way. That sort of thing. That's how this show feels, but who knows? Maybe in the end, they fire on all cylinders and it turns out to be one of the better shows of the year. I hope so. Maybe when it's over, we'll look back on it that way. But going in, I think they did a huge disservice to all of the women on this show. There will be a kickoff show starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern start time for the actual pay-per-view. It's listed as ending at 10:30, followed by the Hardy's Halloween special. I'm looking more forward to that than I am this pay-per-view. Michael Cole leads the announce team with Beth Phoenix and Renee Young. I thought they did a good job together on the Myun Classic, so I think that's a good combination. Lillian Garcia is going to be back to ring announce. She'll be joining JoJo. And I'm sure we'll have a few female referees out there. So they're making sure that they're well represented in, I don't know if they'll have maybe they'll bring back Mike McGurk as a timekeeper. Hey, why not bring back Mike McGurk as a special guest ring announcer for one match? Maybe for the Battle Royal or something. In the press release that WWE initially put out in July, when they initially announced this show, they advertised that there would be an NXT UK Womens Championship title defense. And there has been no mention of that at all whatsoever of late, so I assume that idea is out the window. I won't say who the champion is right now because I have no idea if that's airing on the NXT UK television show that's now on the network. When that might be airing, if it does, it may not be for a few more months. You know what? I don't even know anymore what's a spoiler and what's not. People are they're so damn sensitive about these things. But I know it hasn't aired yet, so I won't say. Point is, as I am recording this, there is no NXT UK women's title match being promoted. So if it does get added to the show, it'll be an unannounced thing. And I guess it'll be them spoiling who the champion is. And my guess is they probably just didn't expect it to take this long to find a home for the show. I know they were shopping it around to different TV networks over in the UK. There had some interest from one or two. It didn't work out. And so they had no choice. Kind of like with Legends House. They were shopping Legends House around, the reality show many years ago. I think they were talking to if it was Bravo or A&E and USA and channels like that. And there was just no interest in carrying it. So they ended up putting it on the network. So my guess is it delayed their plans. It just took longer than they had hoped to find a home for the show, and they probably won't be airing that not title change, but I guess the new champion, the match to decide a new champion if it airs, probably won't be for a couple more months. So here's the card as of right now. I'll run through these real quick and just give my predictions. The match that I am looking forward to the most is the finals of the Myun Classic. I have been following this tournament week after week. It is built to what I think could be a tremendous final. Io Shirai, who some people call the best female wrestler in the entire world, she takes on Toni Storm in the finals. And I'm going to go with Toni Storm here. I think Toni Storm wins. We had Kairi Sane, who is Io's best friend. She won the tournament last year. And there's been a huge Japanese influence even this year on the tournament. You've had 3 or 4, actually I think probably 4 maybe, different Japanese stars in this tournament. You had, I think, Chinese American, people from different backgrounds and nationalities, but there has been a noticeable Japanese influence on the tournament this year as well. I just don't know that they want to take another Japanese star and put her over, I don't know, back-to-back years. That's part of my reasoning, but I also just think that they see, star potential in Toni Storm. I think everybody can see star potential. Toni Storm's only 22 years old, which is kind of shocking in a way when you think about it. And I just think, I don't know, I think this year she fell short last year. She made it to the semifinals and was eliminated. I think this year she takes it. And so I'm going with Toni Storm. Also, the other thing to remember is last year, I don't believe Toni Storm was signed to any kind of deal. I think she was already signed with Stardom for a year, and she couldn't, sign anything full-time with WWE. Now she is under contract. She's going to be part of the NXT UK Women's division. So they have her, I think, pretty much locked up. And that's also part of the reason why I think they might be more open to having her win the whole thing this year. We have a Battle Royal for a future championship match. This is the obligatory, we don't have anything for you to do, and so we'll just dump you in a gigantic battle royal because we're lazy. The roster as of right now includes Asuka. And Asuka won this year's Royal Rumble match back in January. First ever Women's Royal Rumble. And I don't see her winning this also. The same year that she won the Royal Rumble, they're going to put her over in a battle royal. I don't see it. So I don't think Asuka's taking this. We also have Naomi, Carmella, Nia Jax, Ember Moon, Alicia Fox. Actually, Alicia Fox, I don't know if Alicia Fox is in this battle royal anymore because she's been moved into another match, which we'll get to in a second. Dana Brooke, Lana, Zelina Vega, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Tamina, Tori Wilson, Michelle McCool, Alundra Blaze, the former Medusa, has been added to this match. Her first match since 2000 in WCW. That was 18 years ago. I think she's got to be in her mid to late 50s now. Although she still looks pretty damn good. So she'll be in there. Ivory, Molly Holly, Kelly Kelly, and Maria Kanellis. So I didn't add up all the names. I think it comes out, and maybe I'm missing a couple of names, but I believe the count was at 21. And so if they have to bounce Alicia Fox out, then they'll be at an even 20, so that's fine. As far as who wins, I looked over this roster here. It's impossible to say. They could want to put a legend over. They might want to shock you and go for somebody you're not expecting. I don't think it's going to be Asuka. I don't think it has to be Asuka. I'm going to pick Ember Moon. I think Ember Moon is going to win the Battle Royal. I would actually have it come down to Asuka and Ember. Have them go at it for a little while, and then have Ember win. Asuka doesn't have to win this. She just needs a strong showing. And the SmackDown team, the SmackDown writing team over there, needs to get their act together after Evolution is all said and done and get her back into the mix. Move beyond Charlotte and Becky after this show. Let Becky and Asuka go at it for a bit. Let them have a couple of matches together. Frankly, they have so many women down in NXT and at the Performance Center, especially after this Myun Classic. They signed a whole bunch of people. I'd like to see some new faces moved up to the SmackDown women's roster because they could really use some new blood in that division. I have a little less faith if they move them to Monday Night Raw. I have marginally more faith if they move them up to SmackDown, but not that much more. But they need some new blood. They need some new faces on that show. Maybe Asuka could even, if not with Ember, maybe, and I guess she wouldn't work a program with Ember because they're on separate shows. But, even if she's not in the title mix right away, Asuka could work a program with a new face that they promote from, down at the Performance Center up to the main roster. Whoever that may be. I don't know if it would be somebody who's TV ready like, like Candice LeRae or Bianca Belair. It's too early. But just get her back into the mix. Get her working with people that she can work with. And I just don't want to see her sitting on the sidelines. I don't want to see her feeling the glow with Naomi. They should be doing more with this woman. She won your Royal Rumble, for crying out loud. We have Sasha Banks. Oh, speaking of women they could be doing more with. Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya against the Riot Squad in a 6-woman tag team match. The match is a Monday Night Raw special. This is a Monday Night Raw delight. Or fright, depending on how you look at it. And I like Ruby, and obviously I'm a Sasha Banks fan. Probably less so the other people in this match, but it's just one of those things, and I understand them wanting to get it's like their WrestleMania, right? They want to look at what they're doing here. The Battle Royal, they are doing what they do at WrestleMania every year, which is we have to try to get everybody on the show. We don't want anybody to feel as though they're left out of this. Even though I bet a bunch of women who were shoved into that Battle Royal feel exactly like they've been sort of left out of things and forgotten about. But it's one of those things where you hear about this match, and it just feels like something you've seen every single week on Monday Night Raw, or some combination every single week. Now, Sasha told Maria Menounos, they were on a podcast, I guess, together. She told Maria Menounos that she was sidelined for the last month or so with post-concussion symptoms. That's why she was off television. There was some sort of undisclosed injury. WWE was very vague about it. I don't know why they're vague about things like that. It's not like she was suffering from some friggin' STD or something. But anyway, they're very secretive about this stuff. And in the end, Sasha came out and she revealed that this is what she was suffering from. And maybe Sasha didn't want them to. If Sasha did not want them to reveal that information, then that's understandable. But it didn't seem like anything that was overly, that big of a deal. So I don't really see what the problem there would have been. So WWE's hands were tied in that respect. She was hurt. And if you know that somebody is hurt, if there's a question that they may or may not be on the pay-per-view, at that point, yes, it would be hard to slot them into a bigger match on the show if you don't know if they're going to be ready or not. Look at Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, we just found out, is not going to be cleared. She's not going to be ready for the pay-per-view this weekend. So I get that. In a way, WWE's hands were tied, right? But the thing of it is, had she not been hurt, I am not convinced at all that WWE would have come up with something much better for her than what she's doing here. Just judging by what they've done with her all year, I say that with the utmost confidence. I give them only a little bit of latitude on this. And that's sad, is what that is. That's really sad. So as far as who wins the match, I would have to, Sasha got pinned by Ruby Riott, I think, on Raw Monday night. And I think it's about time they try to, give her and Bayley some momentum here. And so I'm going to go with the babyfaces to win here in this match. That brings us to Lita and Trish Stratus. They were to have faced the team of Mickie James and Alexa Bliss. However, Alexa suffered either a concussion or a broken nose, depending on who you believe. I believe it's a concussion. At a live event in Hartford last weekend. And she will not be cleared in time to compete at the pay-per-view, although she will be there. She will be at ringside. Instead, though, she will be cornering the team of Mickie James and Alicia Fox. And Alicia Fox and Mickie James beat up on Lita and Trish on Monday night. It kind of felt at that point, because Alexa was nowhere to be found, there's Alicia. And so it looked like she was sort of the standby. She was the alternate. And now all of a sudden, Alicia Fox, of all people, has, I guess, one of the bigger matches, one of the bigger attractions on this pay-per-view. And here again, I get that injuries happen. This was out of their control. But why could they not have done Trish Stratus and Lita against Sasha Banks and Bayley? Would that not have been the obvious match going into this show? Again, I know Sasha's been out hurt for a few weeks, but think back to how early they announced the Trish Stratus-Alexa Bliss match. They announced that match, I want to say months ago. Many, many, many weeks ago. Longer than Sasha has been out hurt. Almost immediately, they announced that match. Do you not think that that would be a better attraction than this? Even if Alexa was in this match. Do you not think what I just mentioned would not be a bigger attraction than the match that we are getting here? Even Trish one-on-one with Sasha Banks to play off their little interaction that they had together in the Women's Royal Rumble match, which some people may not remember, but they did. They went at it a little bit in that match, and people seemed to eat it up. I think that could be a big match. Maybe they're going to save it for WrestleMania. Maybe I'm being naive again and giving them the benefit of the doubt on that. I say that now. Watch, come April, Sasha will be relegated to the Battle Royal again on the show. So yeah, maybe they're saving it for another pay-per-view. But I look at this. First ever women's pay-per-view. You want to really promote it. You want to sell tickets. You want to make it out to feel like a big deal. You're going to get some big-time matches on the show as far as, the names in the women's division are concerned. I don't know. Trish and Sasha. Sounds like a big match to me. Even Trish and Lita against Sasha and Bayley. Despite all the crap that we've seen them do with Sasha and Bayley over the last 6 months. To me, that would have been a far bigger match. And they chose not to do that. Instead, we're left with this. And I'm going to go... Lita and Trish Stratus, to me, it's just an obvious thing. I don't really see how they can lose this match, especially now. Now, it's Alicia Fox and Mickie James, for crying out loud. I would have to assume that Alicia now is going to be the one in there to take the fall. I just hope Lita doesn't kill herself when she goes to do that moonsault. But I'm picking Trish and Lita. We have the NXT Women's Championship on the line. This is the other match I'm looking forward to. I had mentioned there being 3 matches on the show that I was looking forward to. One of which being the Myun Classic finals, and the other being this one, and then also the Becky Lynch match. But it's going to be Kairi Sane defending against Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler lost her championship to Kairi. This is the rematch. And, I've gone back and forth on this here. And as far as, who goes over and what they could do. And I'm picking Shayna Baszler. I am picking Shayna Baszler. I do think she's going to win the championship back. It may end up being the lone title change on this show. But I think she wins. And as far as who she then goes and defends it. Now, I was thinking the other two horsewomen who are in training who haven't made their debut yet, Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, I would assume they're going to be at the show. They may well be ringside for Shayna's match and or Ronda's match, as they have been before. And it would not surprise me at all to see them get involved in this match in some way. And maybe give Shayna, if she needs it, against Kairi, some sort of assist or distraction or something, and maybe help her win the championship. And this is what establishes them now. This is their debut. And this is what establishes them on television. And maybe they can actually be with Shayna. It could almost be like her entourage going forward. So that's one way I could see this going down. I was also thinking, well, maybe Kairi retains. We've seen Bianca Belair on NXT television, especially just this week, yelling at William Regal, I'm undefeated, I want a championship match, I'm undefeated. And it's much more believable for me to think that it would be Belair against Kairi Sane, and not Belair as a heel against another heel in Shayna Baszler. Or we could end up with some kind of a triple threat at the next TakeOver show where Kairi gets her rematch and they also stick Bianca in there. That's also very possible. But I think Bianca Belair is going to be in the mix very soon. In fact, if it were me, I wouldn't wait much longer to put that championship on her. Keep her down there. I don't want to see her yet on the main roster. God, it's sad. It's sick. It's almost sickening that I have to be worried about that. But they have something special in her. I don't want to see that ruined in any way. I'd like to see her established as a dominant champion in NXT and get some time down there before being promoted. So I'm picking Shayna Baszler to regain the championship. And we have the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. Not the main event, apparently, but it will be Charlotte challenging Becky Lynch in a last woman standing match. The lone SmackDown match on this entire show, unless you count the Battle Royal, which has a few SmackDown names in it. This is only the second last woman standing match in company history, the first one being just last year in NXT between Asuka and Nikki Cross. Becky Lynch should absolutely not lose that championship here in this match. She should win. I think she will win. I'm picking her. Bully Ray, on his Busted Open radio show that he now co-hosts, he pitched an idea to try to get Becky cheered like a, or not cheered like a heel, but booed like a heel, like a real heel, which, I still think is ridiculous. People's love for this woman has not really waned, hardly at all. She'll get scattered boos, but by and large, people still love her. They still cheer for her. It's like, I think about what happens when she beats Charlotte and she moves on to another babyface like Asuka, just using her as an example. She moves on, let's say, next to Asuka. Or she moves on to, I can't even name another top babyface female on this show. She already worked with Carmella. Naomi? I guess. This is why they need some new women on this show. But they seem so desperate to turn Becky heel. But they have no baby faces to challenge her for the championship once they get beyond Charlotte, and I even struggle to call her a babyface because she doesn't exactly get cheered like one when she comes out on most weeks. Not at the level I'm sure they're hoping for. But my point is, let's say she moves on to Asuka. Okay, just using her as an example. Asuka may be a strong enough fan favorite to get people to cheer for her over Becky. Maybe. But it's equally possible, if not more likely, that the fans just keep cheering for Becky. And they end up doing so at the expense of whoever they put in that spot. It could be Asuka, it could be Naomi, it could be Lana, God forbid, it could be any number of people. And they end up getting hurt by it. Because the people don't want to boo Becky. So they'll just boo the other person. And it ends up getting them booed. And so I worry a little bit about that. But anyway, his idea to get her booed would be to have Charlotte bleed during the match, which he acknowledges is not going to happen. but to get her to bleed and have Ric Flair come out, or he may already be out at ringside because Ric Flair is going to be at Evolution. He's already been announced. He will be there. I don't know if he'll just come out with his daughter and wave and go to the back. I don't know if he'll be at ringside. I have no idea. But he'll be there, and so you have Ric Flair come out in an act of concern for his daughter. Ric Flair was a literal member of Evolution. So, of course, he'll be on this show. But anyway, Bully says have him not get like punched in the face or shoved down, but have him like trip and fall. This was his idea. Trip and fall or take a bump of some kind, and then have Becky grab a chair and threaten to pummel him with it unless Charlotte stays down for the 10 count. You'd probably, honestly, in that case, you would just have people in the crowd cheering her on to do it. It's like when a heel, beats down a bit, like hits their finish on a babyface and they go to leave and everyone chants, "One more time," because they're so sympathetic to these babyfaces. That's probably what they would do here. But I do agree if you want to try to get the people to hate on this woman, that would be one way to do it because Ric Flair is beloved. Ric Flair is, to a lot of people, he's Teflon Rick, and no matter what his flaws may be, they love him to death. He's the greatest of all time. So yes, that might work. I don't really care how they do it personally. I don't care at this point. As long as she keeps the title. It would be a big mistake to take that championship off of her right now. I know there were stories of her being injured a couple of weeks ago, that she may have suffered a cracked jaw in her Super Showdown match with Charlotte. The only way I would see her losing here, and I would hope that this would be the only way, is if she's hurt, and I hope she's not. But if she is hurt and she needs time off to heal up her jaw, if her jaw is still an issue, then they may very well take the championship off of her. But I've not heard anything new about her. And look, if she had a severe enough injury, they wouldn't clear her to perform. So I assume she's fine. She needs to win this match. And she needs to move on to someone else. Now that leads us to what they are billing as the main event. Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey, her first pay-per-view main event, taking on Nikki Bella. And I saw the same reports that many of you did, I'm sure, that as soon as they announced this match, there was a spike. There was a spike in ticket sales. Didn't sell the show out, but people seem to have an interest in this match. And it's not hard to see why. They've taken the road of promoting it, as almost like in a work shoot kind of way. Ronda was going after Nikki for sleeping with John Cena, and then Nikki kind of went in on Ronda Monday night during the contract signing segment. They made it personal, and so all the people sort of lap it up and they love it. And look, it probably was the best way to go about promoting this match. Probably. To bring up some of that stuff, and you were a diva, diva's like a four, and I'm going to talk about this diva stuff here in a second. But anyway, the match is what it would not have been my main event, but I guess it's a match that some people want to see. And they've been practicing and rehearsing the match all week long to make sure they get it down just the right way. It's like Savage Steamboat here. So we'll see what kind of match they have. Nikki Bella was always, I think, the better in-ring of the two Bellas. And so she's not a bad wrestler. Ronda's still new to all this. She hasn't even been doing this a full year yet. I've been impressed by her, but it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get here. We haven't seen Nikki Bella in a big singles match in a very long time. She was away for a while. This is new. Like I said, this is new territory for Ronda. They've not worked together before. So I am morbidly curious how this match is going to turn out. I hope they have a barn burner. What else can I say? I hope they go out there and they tear it up. I have my doubts, but we'll see. We'll see if they impress me. Ronda Rousey, I don't think should be losing her championship. Would it be mega heat if Nikki Bella somehow cheated, if Brie got involved and they stole the championship from Ronda? Would people boo and be pissed off? Yes, they would be. I still think it would be a mistake to have Ronda Rousey lose to Nikki Bella. So hopefully that does not happen. And maybe there's some sort of a non-finish because they want to come back and do this match again. I wouldn't do that in your main event. I would have more of a decisive finish, whatever that may be. I think Ronda should keep her title. Now, I did want to talk about Nikki Bella made some comments this week I would call them, just reading how they came off to me, I would say worked shoot comments on the CBS Sports In This Corner podcast, where she defends the use of the word diva. And she basically said that she is personally offended when people thumb their nose at the women who wrestled in the Divas era. Now, she correctly pointed out in this interview that Beth Phoenix and Melina and AJ Lee and Paige are all former Divas champions, which is true. She said that it is hypocritical for fans to praise the Attitude Era and bra and panties matches. And by the way, when people praise the Attitude Era, I don't think they're specifically praising the bra and panties. I mean, look, teenage me and teenage a lot of people probably didn't mind it so much, okay? But when I think back to the Attitude Era and how fun it was, the first thing that comes into my mind is not bra and panties matches. When I talk about there being certain elements of that era that they can incorporate into the product now while keeping it PG, I'm not saying it has to go, TV-14. I'm not thinking, hey, they ought to bring back bra and panties matches. So that to me is a bullshit point. When people romanticize about that era, I don't believe that most people are thinking about that. They're thinking about having actual stars back then. People not being handcuffed creatively. People not having every word scripted out for them. Having an atmosphere where it felt like truly anything can happen each and every single week. Has nothing to do with the women. So I think that's a bullshit point. But she thinks it's hypocritical. Praise the Attitude Era, but yet you discredit the women who worked hard because there's a butterfly on the belt that they didn't design. She says that is not empowering. You see, you people are not empowering Nikki Bella when you make these horrible comments. Now, again, I say work shoot because in the very same interview, she actually takes a couple of shots at Triple H by saying that they were only following the orders of WWE Creative by trying to make the term diva mean strong and powerful. And then Triple H and others went and turned it into a negative term. There is no way that Nikki Bella is saying that on her own. AJ Lee spoke out against Stephanie McMahon very publicly on social media, and she knew she had one foot out the door, so she didn't have anything to lose. She legitimately went after Stephanie McMahon on Twitter for comments that she made. And people lauded her for it. So, let's have Nikki Bella sling some mud at Stephanie's husband. And maybe the people will get behind her too. Yeah, nice try. Ain't gonna work on me. But look, this is not complicated. The fans got tired of 30-second Divas matches on TV that serve no purpose. They got tired of seeing women who, in a lot of cases, quite frankly, just were not very good compared to some of the newer faces that people started to see coming up from NXT. So they rebelled. And eventually, the company reversed course. Took them a long time, but they finally came around and they finally reversed course. And that's where this whole women's movement began to bubble up in the company. The company doomed those ladies for all the crap that people would talk about the Divas period in the company and all that. Okay, the company doomed each and every one of those women from day one just by calling them divas. On that, Nikki Bella is correct. But Nikki Bella needs to realize that no matter how many years WWE tried to condition the fans to think about divas as strong and powerful, diva is not used as a term of endearment. Unless you are a pop star. And even then, a lot of times, it is not exactly used as an endearing term. It'd be like having an entire division of men on the roster and calling them shitheads. The shitheads are strong, powerful, manly men. Yes, but they're still shitheads. If you are, like I said, if you're a female singer, they call you a diva. Right? These women are not singers. Diva is defined as a self-important person who is temperamental and difficult to please. Or as the Urban Dictionary so eloquently puts it, diva is a polite way of calling a self-absorbed narcissistic woman a bitch. That is how WWE referred to its female talent roster for years. And by the way, the word diva applies to men too. It's not just used for women, it's non-gender specific. Plenty of men can be divas. Case in point, Kanye West. I mean, who runs up on stage and interrupts somebody else's acceptance speech at an award show? A diva, that's who. So that's my whole spiel on the whole diva thing. Nikki Bella can talk about how it upsets her and everything, and she's got a point in that the company is as much to blame for that as anything. And I do think a lot of those women get unfairly knocked. Although, again, there were plenty of them who just, they worked hard, but the talent level just wasn't there. But I do think, I do think back to people who were not good at all at first because they probably got plucked out of some kind of modeling catalog. I look at somebody like a Candice Michelle who came out of the diva search. I mean, a few people came out of the diva search. Maria came out of the diva search. But over time, Candice in particular, and I'm kind of surprised she's not part of this show in any way, or Melina, although I guess there's some kind of issue going on there. Victoria, yeah, come to think of it, there's a lot of women. AJ Lee. There's a lot of women who should be represented in some way on this show. Maybe they'll include them in some kind of video package. I still have no clue what's going on as far as the whole, Melina, Victoria thing is concerned. I mean, I have my thoughts on the Victoria thing, but even that's not reason enough. The images and the videos of her that leaked a while back, it wasn't her fault. I struggled to come up with an explanation for that. But there were plenty of women who worked hard, who did improve, Candice Michelle being one of them. One idea that I think would be kind of cool, maybe they do this before the main event, before the women come out for the main event, but you have maybe some sort of, display on stage showing the different, championship belts from over the years, and maybe holding those titles are some of the past champions. So you could even fly, Wendy Richter, in, and she's holding the old championship. And I know Alundra's going to be in the Battle Royal. Maybe she comes out and she's holding, the title that she put in the trash on Nitro. And she's there holding that title, representing that era. And you have Trish and or Lita come back out and they're holding the women's title. Almost like a parade of champions, sort of, showing the evolution not just of the physical titles, but just the evolution of the women's division. I just thought that might be a cool little thing for them to do, before the main event. I guess would be Ronda and Nikki before they come out for the final match. They have been handing out signs to the fans for a few weeks now. I'm sure you've seen them if you've watched Raw or SmackDown, saying, "We want women's tag championships." They did it again on SmackDown Tuesday night. One of our listeners, Joe, was handed one by security at the SmackDown taping in Newark. And they've made sure to get shots of the signs on TV on both shows recently. So this is their way of being able to turn around and say, "We heard your voices," when they ultimately announce new women's tag team titles, which I expect them to do at this pay-per-view. I do believe that they'll make the announcement, probably have Stephanie come out and make the announcement on this show. The physical belts were created months ago. This is according to Belt Fan Dan. Belt Fan Dan on Twitter has made belts for WWE in the past. He's a pretty, well-known belt maker. And he said this back in July when the initial announcement for this pay-per-view was made, that the belts were done. They were already physically made. They were created. They have white straps. And obviously we've not heard anything about them since. But all of a sudden these signs have been popping up. So the tag titles have been a done deal now for months. There was never any doubt that they were going to happen. It was just a matter of when they actually make the announcement. But I love, again, this notion that, hey, we've seen your signs, right? You people wanted it, and so we're going to give it to you, when in actuality, this was already a done deal probably 3 or 4 months ago. But, look, in a perfect world, when Stephanie comes out to speak and take credit for the women's revolution, they would have AJ Lee's music hit as a surprise and have her come out to cut another scathing promo, this time on Stephanie, and cut a scathing promo on her for taking credit. All the things that the internet fans love to talk about. Oh, Stephanie loves to take credit for the women's revolution. This is bullshit. What about AJ? What about all these other women? It would play right into those people by having Stephanie come out and just be, the heel that she loves to come out and be and take credit for everything. And then all of a sudden the music hits, people aren't expecting it, and they go crazy, and AJ comes out, you give her a live mic. I don't know, I just think, and it could be their way of her putting, the heel, putting Stephanie in her place, and talking about how all of these women, deserve credit for, helping get this division and get this company to where it is today. That's just, again, pie in the sky. I would love to think the no AJ thing has less to do with who she's married to and is just because they're actually saving her as a surprise. But I am not naive enough to think that there's a real chance of that happening. But I do think that would be a cool idea. So that's the card. That's the Evolution card as it stands right now. Again, overall, top to bottom, you look at the lineup, not overly inspiring. I am looking forward very much, though, to the Myun Classic finals. That more than any other match on this show. And look, sometimes you go into shows with low expectations, and that honestly is the best way to go into it. There have been a lot of WWE pay-per-views in the past that have not looked that good on paper, or could have been a hell of a lot better on paper than they were going in. You set your expectations very low, you have no expectations, and then you come out of it thinking, man, that was one of the best shows all year. Maybe we'll look back and say the same thing for this Evolution show.